Let's go Dolphins! What happened after the embarrassing loss to the Cleveland Browns wasn't just a bad game, it was the final proof that this team, from top to bottom, is spiraling out of control. The silence from the front office isn't just shocking, it's revealing. Something stinks in that building, and it's not just the game tape. There are deeper issues simmering beneath the surface that no one is addressing, yet. But I will. What if I told you the Dolphins' biggest enemy isn't the Bills, the Patriots, or the Jets, but a man in a suit in a luxury suite at Hard Rock Stadium? What if their most dangerous point guard isn't even on the field? What if this entire season has already been quietly sabotaged from within, and those responsible are still comfortably seated at their jobs? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll see the Miami Dolphins through a completely different lens, and you may never watch a game the same way again. But before I reveal what's really going on, be sure to like this right now if you're a true Miami Dolphins fan who refuses to accept mediocrity. If you've been bleeding aqua and orange for years, decades even, leave a comment below saying, "Go, Dolphins! My heart bleeds aqua and orange." Okay, let's go. Now let's get into the heart of the matter. There is absolute disbelief across the Dolphins community right now. Fans, analysts, former players, everyone. After one of the most humiliating losses in recent memory, not a single change has been made. According to Ian Rappaport, no moves are expected, and that is beyond comprehension. This isn't just a bad loss, this was a gut punch to the soul of Dolphins football. A lifeless, sloppy disaster against the 1-5 Cleveland Browns, where Tua Tagovailoa threw 3 interceptions, the locker room felt fractured, and the entire team looked like it didn't even want to be there. You expect accountability after that? You expect heads to roll? Not in Miami. Instead, owner Stephen Ross has shown us exactly where his priorities lie, and it's not with winning. No, it's in cozying up with Chris Greer and Mike Mcdaniel, and that alone should outrage every Dolphins fan alive. If Ross truly cared about the product on the field, those two would be out the door already. But no, Ross continues to prove that being terrible at your job in Miami doesn't get you fired, it gets you protected. He's running a franchise with no accountability. Period. And that makes us the laughingstock of the NFL. This isn't just about a bad week. This is the culmination of a decade of dysfunction. Chris Greer has been the general manager for 10 seasons. You know how many playoff wins he has under his belt? 0. How many division titles? Also 0. This is a man who has failed repeatedly, and yet somehow continues to get more chances. Why? Because Stephen Ross enables him. Because in this organization, failure is tolerated. Mediocrity is normalized. And greatness? It's nowhere in sight. Then there's Mike McDaniel. He came in with all the flash, all the promise. But what has he proven? That he's not a leader. That he can't command a locker room. That his team collapses under pressure. When your own players are skipping meetings, when your quarterback is throwing teammates under the bus in the media, that's not a leadership problem, that's a leadership vacuum. Tua's actions show he's not ready to lead a franchise. And McDaniel? He's just as guilty. Both of them shift blame. Both of them fail to take responsibility. And both are still employed. And what message does that send? That there are no consequences in Miami. That performance doesn't matter. That culture and accountability are just words thrown around in press conferences. This team has no identity, no spine, and most importantly, no direction. Look at what NFL legends are saying. Bill Cowher, Teddy Bruschi. They're calling out the Dolphins, not just McDaniel, but the entire leadership group. Bruschi said it best. The kind of leader you want to win championships is the opposite of what we have in Miami. That says it all. And it's not just about McDaniel or Greer anymore. It's time to look at the top of the pyramid, at Stephen Ross. Because let's be honest, if you leave weeds in your garden long enough, they take over. McDaniel, Greer, and Tua, they're the weeds. But Ross, he's the root. Until that root is dug out, nothing else will change. And it's not just off-field drama we're dealing with. Injuries are piling up. Darren Waller, who had been a spark when healthy, suffered a pectoral injury in the game. He didn't even log a catch against the Browns, likely hurt during a blocking play, and now he's headed for an MRI. If it's torn, his season's over. But even if it's just a strain, we're probably looking at 6 weeks or more. Remember James Daniels? Same injury, and he's still out. Waller might never suit up again in aqua and orange. It's a shame, because when Waller was on, he looked electric. But the reality is, we knew this was coming. He was injury prone. He hadn't played in over a year. And now, it's time for Julian Hill and Tanner Conner to step up. But let's be real, they're not Waller. And that leaves a major hole in the middle of the field. Another dynamic red zone threat gone. Another reason the offense is going to struggle. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, Jalen Waddle also left the game late in the fourth quarter after an acrobatic attempt to catch a badly placed ball from Quinners. That throw wasn't just bad. It was dangerous. Waddle had separation, and the play should have been routine. But Quinners missed badly, forcing Waddle into a jump and a brutal landing. Thankfully, Waddle seems okay. He told reporters there's nothing significant. But that play was a microcosm of everything wrong with this team. Poor execution, poor decision-making, and unnecessary risk that puts your stars in harm's way. And speaking of Quinners, he's not ready. That's obvious. Plays like that are basic. Every NFL quarterback should make that throw in their sleep. When your QB can't hit a wide-open receiver on a 15-yard out, you've got a serious problem. That's not about play design. That's not about chemistry. That's just quarterbacking 101. And if your guy can't do it, you need another guy. Because the more you peel back the layers, the more obvious it becomes. The Miami Dolphins issues aren't just about poor play or bad coaching decisions. It's systemic. It's cultural. It's coming from the very top. And until that changes, nothing else truly will. And let's not pretend like we haven't seen this before. Year after year, we go through the same cycle. There's a new coach, a flashy signing, some off-season hype, and then the season comes, and it all falls apart. The story doesn't change. The faces might, the uniforms get updated, but the dysfunction remains deeply rooted in the organization. And who's the constant in all of this? Stephen Ross, the man who's owned the team since 2009, and in that time has overseen countless failed rebuilds, coaching disasters, front office blunders, and an ever-growing divide between this team and actual contention. How many times have we seen a team with promise completely unravel under his watch? Whether it's the Joe Philbin era, the Adam Gase experiment, or now Mike McDaniel's honeymoon crashing into reality, every chapter ends the same way: disappointment, disarray, and the rest of the NFL pointing and laughing. That's the brand Ross has built. He talks a big game about wanting to win, but his actions never back that up. He clings to familiarity. He protects the wrong people. And worst of all, he refuses to hold anyone accountable. And it's not just the fans that are done. Former players, analysts, and even current players are showing signs that they're losing faith. The Tua comments about teammates not showing up to meetings? That's not just a throwaway quote. That's a peek into a fractured locker room. And McDaniel's inability to command respect or even project a sense of urgency? That's how teams fall apart from the inside. This isn't a team that's a couple of tweaks away from greatness. This is a team that needs an identity transplant. And you can't do that while the same people are steering the ship. And let's talk about Chris Grier for a second. 10 years, 10 seasons of being the man in charge of roster construction. No playoff wins. Not one. He's missed on quarterbacks. He swung and missed in the draft more times than we can count. For every good pick he's made, there are 3 more that set this team back. And somehow, he keeps his job. Any other GM in this league with that record would have been gone years ago. But not in Miami. Because Ross would rather double down on failure than admit he got it wrong. And it's not just about the past. Look at the current state of the roster. Injuries are piling up. Depth is non-existent. You lose Darren Waller and suddenly you're down to guys like Julian Hill and Tanner Connor. That's not just bad luck. That's a failure of roster building. You know Waller has a history of injuries. You plan for that. You prepare. But Grier didn't. Because he never does. He gambles. And Dolphins fans are the ones paying the price. Even the trade deadline talk, fans are buzzing about potential moves. But let's be real. What good is trading for anyone right now? What good is trying to patch holes when the whole ship is leaking? You can't just throw duct tape on a sinking vessel. You either fix the structure or you drown. So the real question becomes, what does Ross care about? Because it's clearly not